Collected Essays of Valerie Lynn Stevens. Critical Thinking, and the Mind Ponders Itself. And the mind ponders itself. As I type this, my mind is forming thoughts. Oops, see, already an error. My mind was forming thoughts before I began typing this. Between the present perfect and the present, or is it by now the past tense? All is so mercurially fleeting, isn't it? Even when I read Jean-Paul Sartre's Being and Nothingness in my early 20s, despite my grasp of most of his thought processes, there were certain things I just didn't get. But I knew that, after reading a second and a third and however many other times, that I would experience the book in a slightly different way each time anyway, and so I just let it be. Letting it be is key, I suppose, to a good rapport with one's own mind. If one can just release the fear of one's own mind, perhaps leading one to a place where one does not want to go, then some real growth and progress can begin. This is one of the more pernicious symptoms of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Even being a person who courageously faces the truth about myself, others, and the world in general still does not preclude that of my own vulnerability and humanity in the face of it all. After about 20 years of relentless psychoanalysis and self-help methods applied, most of which actually were very helpful to my healing process, I came to the realization that enough was enough. I had done the work as far as I could be expected to complete it, and that it was best to leave the rest to more celestial powers. In a word, therapy was beginning to become counterproductive for me beyond a certain point. Although those celestial powers that I mentioned before were the powers helping me along the way the whole time, even when I felt close to the edge, much like the angel which spared Abraham his son Isaac's life when it pulled him away from the edge of the cliff. I personally feel his presence just as much and often more so in situations where I am able to resist some kind of evil from overtaking me, and not just in situations where I feel like doing a good deed and then do it, spur of the moment. Goodness is achieved through resistance to evil, but I won't delve too far into that one for this particular essay. So, the mind pondering itself, or what we also refer to as metacognition. What exactly is critical thinking? If I were to invent my own definition of it, it would go something like this: the application of reason and intuition with the aim of arriving upon an adequate establishment of fact and truth as they relate to present reality. But my mind is critical of that definition because not only do I possess an inherent distrust of all things reductionistic and the like, and thus feel it lacking and limited in scope, but I also have to allow for an accommodation of relativity and temporality as it relates to epistemological entities such as fact, truth, and reality. Personally, I make a distinction between reality and truth. Reality, to me, is those phenomena which derive mainly from the physical senses and from those deductions which are strictly logistical and communally evident to all persons perceiving said phenomena. Truth, to me, deals with more intangible phenomena which derive mainly from more intuitive faculties of perception, which have as their most salient function and feature the grasp of phenomena both metaphysical and absolute. To put it another way, reality is relative and transient. Truth is absolute and eternally fixed or homeostatic. But what does all this have to do again with critical thinking? Everything. My ability to discern truth is no less essential than my ability to know facts or to be in touch with reality, quote unquote. We live in a world which also attempts to dichotomize these two salient and spiritually pertinent elements into mutually exclusive domains. This is often why we see many very sane and highly sentient lucid individuals, myself included, labeled as being insane or mentally ill by our society. This phenomena, of course, has many causes, but this is one of them. I also think that things that our society may have deemed acceptable and even willfully engineered us into doing as children, if manifested in an adult, gets pathologized and or demonized. For example, whenever I feel lonely, I still invent imaginary friends inside of my own head. I know they're not real, just as much as I knew when I was a child. Nevertheless, I am wise to keep this behavior to myself and not to exhibit it out in society. Although I still, even in an age of Bluetooth and MP3 technology, get gawked at whenever I'm talking aloud to myself walking down the street. It is sad how much spontaneity and joy we are denied as adults due to this and other forces at play, but unfortunately we must adapt. But both realms of mind are equally as healthy and equally as valid so long as they are balanced out with the other essentials in life. The truly insane are often deemed the societal ideal and norm. Not that I'm saying that all conformists are sociopaths in lamb's wool, but I merely refer to those individuals who, back when it was called this, would have been deemed criminally insane, or as I like to call it, morally insane. Although I definitely do not believe that these individuals can credibly claim insanity as a legal tactic in defense. Evil people choose to do and to be evil. This, to me, is the true definition of pathology, insanity, and/or mental illness. But no matter how many new terms we invent to put into the DSM, the human condition will not be helped as long as we feel the need to re-victimize the victim, to demoralize the human being who has already been demoralized enough, in most cases through systematic childhood abuse. And this is where the evils and damages of a world which thrives on paucity of feeling and humanity and a shallowness of analysis and intellectual pursuit are revealed most in their crudity and cruelty. And the same phenomena can be witnessed in our criminal justice system. As long as some people choose to judge and to treat their fellow human beings based on dehumanizing and demoralizing stereotypes and feeble-minded worldviews, the inequity and iniquity will continue. Yet another case in point for the redeeming virtues of critical thinking. And so it seems that the title of this here entry, "And the Mind Ponders Itself," has digressed, or perhaps progressed, into some of the most eminent reasons why it is driven and must remain driven to ponder itself, and the condition into which it has been born. To continue its search for truth and justice in a world which seeks to turn the human mind upon itself, so that the truth becomes obfuscated by all the meaningless and distractionary chaos and idiocy